We are with you to take a look at our market activity here the day after Thanksgiving. Yes, we do have market activity today, and here we have Rich Nelson to join us. He is with Allendale Incorporated in McHenry, Illinois, and he joins us right now. And all right, Rich, no markets yesterday. No markets last night. Globex trade was quiet. So we have to rely on today's information as we start out from scratch here at the morning trade, and we have some new information to work with. It's the weekly export sales data that came out from USDA. Normally it comes out on Thursday, and of course this week, because of Thanksgiving Day on Thursday, it came out this morning. Let's take a look at the numbers here and see if there's any surprises in there. We have the corn coming out with a total last week of 1.11 million tons. And the trade was apparently looking for about 900,000 to 1.6 million. The soybean number, 903,600, and the trade was actually looking for something over a million. They were looking for 1.0 to 1.6 million, I understand. Soy meal came in at 379,800. Now that one would apparently get a gold star because the trade was looking for 1 to 200,000. Soy oil, 4,200. That was on the low end of expectations. They were looking for maybe a top end guess of 20,000. And the wheat, 200,500 tons. Trade was looking for 350 to 750,000. Kind of hard to find a lot positive in those numbers.
No doubt about that. Now, as far as the trade's focus, we've been talking about this kind of slack pace for corn and in some ways also the soybean numbers as well. These numbers, as far as the corn, they do help us out a little bit here. As far as soybeans, like you mentioned, trade was expecting 1.0, if not actually up to 1.5, 1.6 million tons. So maybe a little disappointment on the bean side. Might reflect that with maybe some slightly lower trade in today's limited trading action here.
Now, USDA says that the 2017 and 18 portion of that total, which accounts for 869,100 tons, is a marketing year low so far. That can't be helpful to the trade.
No doubt about that, and especially given the fact that so many people had hoped that we'd be cramming in a lot of these extra sales for soybeans, what is kind of a limited export sales year running from January, September through about January. So if we aren't selling it now, the trade might have a little concern that we might not sell it later on here.
So what is going on with soybeans? Does that mean a lot of the business is still coming out of South America? Is there a change in global soybean buying patterns right now?
I think what you mentioned there is probably a very good point. The fact is we still have maybe a little more competition than usual this time of year, where normally this is a U.S.-only portion of the export season for the whole world. So that's a very important point. Now, regarding the Chinese buying issue, for right now, we're still seeing okay news. A lot of trade has been concerned about these Chinese soybean import certificate issues, but for the most part, the actual numbers, the volume going in, is actually still higher than last year.
Now, that wheat number at basically 200,000 tons, I understand that's down 59% from last week and down 60% from the 4-week average. That's not necessarily the kind of help that market needed either.
And that's exactly right here. As far as these numbers, my history goes back to 1987, and based on this history at least, this is the lowest sale for wheat for this particular week. And this comes after what was some pretty good sales here the last about 2 weeks ago. So maybe some disappointing numbers on the wheat side, also getting a little trades focus here today.
Looks like the biggest buyers last week for wheat would have been Japan at 68,000 tons and Algeria, 62,000. Mexico was in there for about 42,700 tons. Some of the other numbers I wanted to point out, we had just a stellar number on grain sorghum of all things, and we had a total there of 323,100 tons. That was up sharply from the previous week, which was only 129,900 tons. So that was a bit of a bullish surprise there. That was up 78% from the 4-week average. So, Rich, what I want to do is take a short break, and then I want to talk with you about the cotton export sales that came in, as well as talk about the beef and pork numbers. We have some surprises there, too. So we'll cover it when we come back right after this. We're back with you and talking with Rich Nelson of Allendale Incorporated in McHenry, Illinois. And Rich, I think it's important that we point out to everybody there was no Globex market activity last night. So no market guidance as we head into this morning's trade other than these export sales numbers and maybe some outside factors today, right?
Exactly right. Now, as far as the trade focus, of course, like you mentioned, holiday trade, so light volume, and also, like you mentioned here, compressed trading hours here for today.
Okay, we talked about the cotton export numbers. We had very strong numbers on grain sorghum. Now on the cotton, let's take a look at what those numbers held. And here we are talking about a total of 400,100 running bales, according to USDA. Now, the portion for the current marketing year would be 357,000 running bales. That's down 30% from last week. However, it is still 18% higher than our last 4-week average. So it's slacked off a little bit. And then we had these rice exports at 111,400 metric tons, and that was a marketing year high. How about that?
Exactly right. Pretty exciting numbers. And as far as the cotton, you mentioned this very strong number from last week. So now I have 2 weeks in a row of very good numbers to speak of. And the biggest issue as far as the surprising point is all the way up until August, these numbers were limited to only about 289,000 tons. So great sales for now 2 weeks in a row. Hopefully the cotton market should see some type of reflection of that here today.
Well, we have beef and pork export numbers too, and the beef exports turned out to be 10,400 metric tons this time around. The 2017 amount was 9,300. For 2018, they sold 1,100. And that was unchanged from last week. It was down 38% from the 4-week average on the current year total. On the pork, though, pretty healthy number again, 23,800 tons. That was up 24% from last week and up 1% from the 4-week average. The 2017 total was 16,300 of that. So it looks like the pork exports are clawing their way back here.
Exactly right. We're hoping this does continue because in the past few weeks we have had some moderate problems with the pork export numbers, and while the beef had been holding pretty firm, so we hope that over the next few weeks we'll see maybe a little change here. A lot of people are hoping that this pork market, especially in the wave of excess supply we're going to have for the next 2 weeks, we hope we can move as much as we can out of this market here very, very quickly.
So anytime you have a holiday in the middle of a trading week like this, of course, the USDA office is shut down as a result of that. And so there's very little information for guidance here on the cash cattle market. Not much took place apparently on Wednesday, so you almost have to go all the way back to Tuesday to get any guidance on what happened in the country there. Looks like on Wednesday we had asking prices around 120 on a live basis on the cattle. We had packer bids around 118 to 119 per hundredweight. Do you have any different information than that?
For the most part, no. We do have some limited trades here for Wednesday, but nothing that gets the market too excited. We certainly will have numbers to move here today, and for the most part, probably won't see too much of a difference than we saw here on Tuesday, Wednesday.
And, of course, we did have the Fed cattle exchange on Wednesday, but this time around with the holiday and everything, nothing actually was sold. So, Rich, we'll see how the markets open up here at the bottom of the half hour. Thanks for all the help.
Sounds great. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Rich. Rich Nelson of Allendale Incorporated in McHenry, Illinois. And Christina, there you go. The table is set. Everybody's revved up and ready to go today on a short day.
Hopefully there's no turkey hangovers that postpone anything
Close
today.
up the futures a little after noon Central Time.
A little early, but we're going to be here with you until then. So stay with us right here on RFDTV.